Today I want to show you how you can get a really narrow seam that's perfect for top stitching with a Janome M7. Hi, I'm Kim Jamison Hurst of Chatterbox Quilts, and recently in one of the Facebook Lives that Celine Ross did, and Celine Ross is one of our Janome Canada educators, she was working with the HP foot, and what I want to talk about today is using the HP foot and the HP2, or the HP2 foot, to give you a really close to the edge top stitch seam. And I didn't know this, so I'm sure you probably don't either, but it was quite a revelation, and I was like, oh yes, this will be perfect for so many situations. So let's talk about the HP foot and the HP2 foot briefly. I have other videos on these, so please check above or in the description below the video for more details on using those feet that come with the Janome M7. And they're great for 1/4 inch seams, and I use them for piecing all the time. And usually when you use these particular feet, you need to use the HP needle plate with them. That's the combination, HP foot or HP2 foot and HP needle plate. And if you're wondering about the difference between these two feet, here's my HP foot, here's my HP2, which you can use with the AccuFeed Flex system. And what I'm going to show you works with either of these feet. So normally when you turn the machine on, I'm going to turn it off here for a second so you can see. When you turn the machine on, watch the needle because it's going to move over to where this hole is in the foot and back again. All right, so you can see it moves back that center position. And I've never been able to figure out, what's that hole for and can we stitch through that hole or not? So thanks to Celine, yes, you can do this. So let me explain how. You're going to have to change up some combinations. So when you're using the M7, the needle plate rules, okay? What I mean by that is the machine recognizes the needle plate that you have in place, and it will allow you to stitch certain stitches and not other stitches depending on the needle plate you have in the machine. So I'm going to trick the machine is what we're actually doing here, and I'm going to put in the straight stitch plate. Now what I'm showing you, you could probably do with a zigzag plate, but I do not recommend you do this at all because the zigzag plate, once it's in, it will show you can do all kinds of decorative stitches. Not really. Not with this foot you can't, or you're going to break your needle for sure, probably damage your foot as well, okay? You would need to have a different kind of foot on. So straight stitch plate in. So once you put the straight stitch plate in, things are going to change up quite a bit, okay? You've noticed what's happened already with the machine or the needle. Maybe you didn't when I was moving things around, but that needle is now in a different place. So I'm going to use my hand wheel to show you where that needle's going now. It's going in that little hole, right? And it will stitch in that hole, okay? It's going to actually stitch there, and if I line up my fabric with the edge of the foot, it's going to give me a very, very narrow, about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, okay? So let me just show you the difference between using the HP2 foot with the machine, the needle plate, I should say, that you should be using it with, which is that HP plate, right? So easy to switch out needle plates with this machine. It's just a touch on the screen. I love it. Okay, and notice once I put that HP plate in there, that needle has jumped back to that center position. And if I was going to stitch with it or with the HP foot, okay, I'm just going to move that out of the way for now. It's the same thing with either of them, and I'm just going to leave this HP2 foot in right now, and we're going to stitch along the edge here. So I'm going to bring up my bobbin thread there. Always a good idea to get that up and out of the way. I always like to use a leader and an ender when I'm stitching. If you want to find out more about that, look in the description below or up top, and I will have a video on that and why I use those. All right. Let me just get this set up properly. There we go. AccuFeed system's engaged. And we're just going to do a stitching. So this is my 1/4 inch seam. I'll just come off the edge here. And we'll take this off so you'll be able to see what I have stitched here. Okay, with my HP2 foot. Okay, that's my 1/4 inch seam. But if I want to take this off, if I want to get an even narrower seam allowance, I'm going to have to switch out that needle plate. All right, so let's do that. taking off the HP, putting in the straight stitch needle plate, and watch the needle when it takes it down. Oh, did you see it jump over there? All right, so now when I want to go and sew, it's asking me to make sure I've got the right foot in place and everything. And it's not going to show me that I need to be using the HP2 foot on the screen. So like I said, we've kind of tricked the machine a little bit, so don't expect to see that there. But this is what you'll see instead when you use the HP2 foot. I'm just going to cut my thread there. All right, so I've gone off a little bit here because it's extremely close to the edge, as you can see, and I'm using this charm square, which has those pinked edges, of course, so I was getting a little too close to the edge there. But it's going to give you a really, really close to the edge stitch. So what you're looking at is the distance from the edge of the foot to where that hole is. So when I bring the needle down a bit, you can see it's a very, very narrow seam allowance. So if you want to do top stitching, this would be great for that application. Or maybe if you're doing Quilt As You Go blocks, you're joining with sashing and you want to run that stitching along as you put them together and you don't want it to show very much, that would also be great. Another thing that I use it for, or I'm starting to use it for, is when I put some wall hangings together. I use a pillowcase method to do that, to avoid binding. And when I do that, there's always an opening that you typically hand stitch closed. Instead, I can go around the entire project very, very close to the edge. It'll catch that opening and stitch it closed, but it's so close to the edge that you really don't even see it very much. So I'm liking using this. As I said, you can use it with either the HP foot or the HP2 foot. Just make sure you switch out to that straight stitch needle plate to do that, and you'll get that really, really narrow seam allowance. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your quilting friends. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified the next time I release a new video. And before you go, check out these other videos I selected just for you. For more helpful quilting information, please go to my website at www.chatterboxquilts.com.